What's up guys? Welcome back. Today we are going to be playing with the new blushes from Victoria Beckham Beauty. That's why I have all of my makeup on except for bronzer and blush and contour and everything. I have definitely heard concerns in the past that you couldn't see the trueness of the colors on my skin if I had already put a bunch of bronzer on. So that's why I look a little bit blank at the moment. But I picked up 3 of these. Victoria Beckham has always had this preciousness about her products, and it's tended to be mirrored by the specialness of her formulas. And I was interested to see if these $42 cream blush sticks stacked up to those expectations. So I picked up the shade Miniskirt, Major, and Knickers. I think that these are right up our alley. The main thing that I'm going to be testing for today, besides like performance and, you know, talking about the packaging, talking about the claims and everything, is when you take your brain out of the Victoria Beckham culinary universe, does this stack up as worth $42 against other formulas that you can get in a cream cheek stick? That's my main objective today, because I'm looking at it from the standpoint of a buyer. When I buy things, I'm gonna go on my spiel. When I buy things, it's work. That's just work. It is completely non-binary as to whether or not I'm going to like it. I don't have any makeup regrets. It's always just information to me, information that I can share with you guys. First-hand experience with a product that I can try and bring as close to you as possible without you actually touching the product. But I have heard a lot of people having hesitation around these just because they are so expensive for such a small amount of product. So that is something that I'm going to be trying to help solve for today, those concerns. But yeah, I'm gonna move y'all in and we're just going to cut straight to the chase for a change and put some blush on my cheeks. Seriously, y'all, sometimes I'm editing and I'm like, shut up, Khaki, you just get to putting the makeup on. I will save the swatches for after the application, because I think that what you guys really want to see is application first. That's what I like to see first. I'm gonna start with this lighter rosy tone, and then I'm gonna go in with this kind of base note berry, and then I will go in with the kind of melon as like a pop. So you could start by directly just applying that to your cheek. I guess that's what I'll do with the first coat. Let's do that. And then I will use a brush or a sponge or what have you and kind of experiment a little bit as we layer them, because you guys know I'm a blotter colorer. Oh my God, sometimes I just cannot be saved. A blush watercolorer. Well, now I need a gosh darn brush, don't I? Et voila. So this is the true pink of the 3 that I got in the shade Major. Quite pigmented in a good way. Creamy, but a little more pigmented and a little less slippy than some of the others that I have used, but not as stiff as like the little pots of like rose ink, for example. Someone did comment back, because I kind of postulated on that video. I said, if I were to guess, I would describe this cheek formula, talking about rose ink, as very, very similar to the Westman Atelier lip suede, because I had never tried the lip suede, and the comment basically said like, you nailed it. So if that is a relevant comparison for you, that's what it was. But these are a little bit more creamy than that, but not nearly as like emollient as even Westman Atelier or, you know, Kierwise. But for that reason, I do feel like they spread out to be pretty sheer. We are getting a really nice non-sticky finish on the skin. But I will say, like, you would think that for something this tiny, it would pack such a pigment punch that it would more than make up for how little product you're getting. You would think, oh, well, it must be hyper concentrated. And that's not really what I'm getting from it. But it does have a nice blurring quality to it, and it isn't really like adding coverage. That's another thing about like all the pigments being the same to me, is that it doesn't really add coverage. It's not having some kind of like white backing to it. Finally, we have Knickers, and it's just such a difficult word to say fast, okay? And it is quite the melon shade. Reminds me quite a bit, just from memory, of Velvet Melon from Kosas, but obviously much, much stiffer. Kosas is up there in probably the most emollient blush formulas. And I'm bringing that kind of up a little bit. Kind of tough to get like true color payoff with a sponge once you're layering them. So I think I will actually pop this on a brush, see if that helps. good bit of product. Try and lay that down. And it'll probably pick less product up as it goes. I'll always be a brush girl at heart, but I just wanted to demonstrate the different ways that you might go about using a product like this if a brush isn't your go-to. By the way, this is the BK Beauty 101. I love this for cream blush. Everything is going to look a little bit pink for the moment because, like I said, there's no bronzer or contour or anything, so if this is not what you're used to seeing, that's why. But if you thought that there was no rhyme or reason to the placement of my blush, there kind of wasn't. I was winging it a little bit, but you can see a little bit more concentration of that melon color right there on the apples of my cheeks, and the rest of it kind of blended together, and that's fine. I'm going to throw the bronzer and contour and whatnot on my face real quick, and then we're going to do some pretty in-depth swatch comparisons for color as well as texture of the formula. So honestly, guys, not sure how I feel about this whole makeup look, but let's go ahead and swatch some stuff against these for comparison's sake. Oh my gosh, this is where I try to remember all the shades that I just swatched on myself so that I can share them with you. I know that the middle three are the new Victoria Beckham ones. This is Cloud Paint and Storm, and this is Rose Latte from Fenty. And those are really, really similar, as is this right here. This is that funky little lip and cheek thing, the Color Haze from Ilia, but very, very different formula. I would compare this formula to halfway in between Westman Atelier and the Thrive Sticks. The Thrive Sticks are the stiffest ones, but they're really easy to work with, but they're not as pigmented as the Thrive ones. They're not as pigmented as the Westman Atelier ones. So this is Thrive in Tessa. That's another one that's super, super similar. This one right here. It's got that lovely like berry brickiness to it. So bad at this, I'm sorry. This one right here is After Hours from Tower 28, and I found that, you know, it's a lot more berry, a lot darker. And this right here is Sundown from Melt Cosmetics. They're blush lights, and none of the Melt blush lights really came very close because they do tend to lean a little more orange. So I think that the only one was Honey Thief, and Honey Thief is this one right here. Honey Thief came pretty darn close to that melon shade, but not quite. It's still a little bit more orange. So the most similar to the Knickers shade was actually, from a shade standpoint, not a formula standpoint, Color Science Blush. That's just what it's called. It's called Blush. And the most similar, like I said, to this one is probably either Storm Cloud Paint or the Ilia or Rose Latte from Fenty. I would say that that's the most dupable shade. And then this one is this interesting kind of like, you know, true rose. I would guess that it's pretty similar. In fact, the shade from Danessa Myricks right here, which is called Bread and Butter, is actually like a really, really dead on dupe for it. Yeah, so that's gonna be very, very similar to Petal from Westman Atelier. And then, you know, if you want just like a true hot pink that's kind of similar, this is Tower 28 Happy Hour. Actually, the other one that's somewhat similar right here, it does dry down a little darker, but this is Pink Soap from Lisa Eldridge. Those are probably the most comparable ones. I was definitely pretty wrong about it being a lot like Velvet Melon. So this is Velvet Melon and Velvet Melon High Intensity. Velvet Melon High Intensity, Velvet Melon, and then this is Miniskirt. Knickers. This right here is Plumberry from Makeup by Mario. That one's fairly similar. I would say that that's pretty darn similar. And Dusty Rose shade from him is right here. And it's just kind of a deeper version of it, like slightly more purple, a little more lilac, but pretty similar. Okay! Swatching is always tedious, but like I do feel like there is a very specific personality type that like would feel very disappointed if I didn't do that. Even though it's chaotic, it is chaotic. It really is. But especially if you already have those in your collection, or if you are really just like trying to decide between two, that might help you with some of the nuances. The ones that I didn't really mention but are going to be probably in my next video are the new, I mean they're not that new, but new to me, ones from M Cosmetics. So I'm going to be sharing those as well as the new eyeshadows. So that will be coming. I think I'm just gonna do an up or down on everything from M Cosmetics. That's what you guys have asked me to do, and just include the new stuff. So it's gonna be like M Cosmetics, what's worth it and what's not. So look forward to that. But they weren't like super relevant to bear comparison with these. So that was why I didn't mention them. Let's look online and see what she says about these and see if she points out anything that we're missing. Since everyone will ask, these are the Raider frame from Warby Parker. My other ones are the Aubrey frame from Warby Parker. Okay, new Cheeky Posh. That's what they're called. They're called Cheeky Posh. That's funny. Inspired by Victoria's cheekiest moments, buildable colors, velvety texture. This skin smoothing, long-lasting cream cheek color is akin to natural adrenaline rush. Clean, plant-based esters, no silicone. That's something that they will have over something like Thrive. Thrive is a lot of silicone, which I think makes them wear really lightly and for a long time. Provide water-resistant wear and a perfected finish. Knickers is a light peachy melon. Playground is a mid-tone terracotta nude. Major is a neutral pink flush. Miniskirt is a berry rose. And roller skate is a vivid coral pink. They are $42, and for that $42 you get 5 grams or 0.17 fluid ounces. It is not always worth comparing a stick to a pan, you know, like those things are going to be different from one another, but a stick to a stick, for example, Tessa is 8 grams of product or 0.28 ounces. The triple threat color stick, I swear, the amount of space used in my brain for long names of products, regardless, you know, obviously not the same kind of packaging. We're talking plastic, we're talking metal. You know, this one's got its fancy little brush and everything. It's just a slightly different approach, but $36 for 8 grams. This is $42 for 5 grams. Precious, very precious. Makeup by Mario. This is 10.5 grams. That was one of the biggest call outs that I had when I reviewed the Makeup by Mario, was that they are a massive value, especially for building your kit. If you are an actual professional makeup artist, if those appeal to you, it's $28 and it is an absolute doggone crap load of product. So that is really neat. I do have, this is Bichette. It's not my favorite color, but this is the Westman Atelier stick. This is like $48 and you get 6 grams. So these are neck and neck, basically. The Westman Atelier and Victoria Beckham Beauty are virtually neck and neck in terms of what you're paying for the product. Luxury performance, clean beauty, what it is, what it does, chic and convenient. Cream blush stick that nourishes skin with natural, easy flush. The range of 5 shades offers foolproof, buildable colors that all work on a multitude of skin tones. What it does, the creamy, velvety texture melts into skin with soft, natural looking color that lasts. The nourishing formula is infused with clean botanical actives for smoother, brighter, and healthier cheeks and pout. So they say you can use it obviously on your lips. Is there anything special about this formula? Clean and lean innovation. Blue lotus wax softens and protects skin as it creates long-lasting true color adhesion and wear. Jojoba esters, plant-based alternative to silicone that provides water and sweat resistant properties while increasing overall wear properties, provides cushion and glide upon application. Surface treated pigments provide superior blendability and strong skin adhesion with luxurious softness while keeping the color true over time. And ginseng extract, a soothing adaptogenic herb that, not to say that adaptogenics are not real or whatever, it's a whole, people love to throw that word around, that is known to provide anti-inflammatory properties, promotes collagen synthesis, and prevents skin aging. You know, I guess that makes it special. like as far as that's concerned. And I do think that the container makes it look like there's actually like a more precious amount of product than there is when something like the Westman Atelier stick, which everybody associates with clean luxury beauty, is it just looks hunky chunkier because it's like, you know, I guess they're planning on making it refillable or whatever, but it's just a more stout package. All right, before I move into my final thoughts, I want to do one more thing, and that is I want to slam this on my face. I want to get like, I want to get some Fjords vibes. So I guess we'll go with Miniskirt too. Because that's the thing about the Westman Atelier, right? It's so perfectly richly pigmented. It's not over pigmented, it doesn't overwhelm you, but I feel like you get so much satisfaction. It goes on really fast. There's something really lovely about how quickly that product applies, and it is probably something that they had, I'm just guessing, but like, you know, in the lab with them being like, this is probably the product that we are seeing as our main competitor for this price point. It's important that it stacks up, you know, for that price. Because I don't really feel, you know, memory serving, whatever, but I don't really feel like I have to work this hard with the Westman Atelier sticks to get the color payoff that I want. And she does really insist that this is long wearing. I'm not a person who has like color fading issues over the day. I tend to have them either immediately or not at all. So the fact that my skin didn't really appear to eat them isn't, you know, I'm not super concerned about that. I take her at her word. But as I'm building this, you know, it's also picking stuff back up because it doesn't really seem to want to. But it's also not super, 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 super creamy. You know, it does kind of stay thin on the skin, and it does, I don't want to say it has a dry down, but it kind of does, you know? It wants to have a different texture on your skin right when you're putting it on, and then once it's kind of sat there for a second, you know? And right now I'm just taking a brush without anything on it and just feathering those edges. That's basically what I'm doing so that, you know, it looks intentional. I'm gonna move y'all out and then we will talk final thoughts, okay? Okay, guys. First of all, I neglected to show you the component. It is all metal, and it is that tortoise shell print that she does. So that part of it feels heavy just by virtue of what it's made out of, which is fantastic. It doesn't feel gimmicky at all. It doesn't feel chintzy, although this is not ideal. It's a little rattly, but like I wondered if it kind of popped out, but it doesn't. You know, but when you're putting it on, you can kind of feel the rattle like that. And that's just not something that you get with like a lipstick, you know? I don't get that with like a bite lipstick or something. So it's a little weird how rattly that is. It kind of annoys you when you're putting it on because it goes clink, clink, clink. Normally I wouldn't care about that, but this is supposed to be such like a luxury product. They should think of everything. So, talking about my thoughts on this, and then I will move into like also who I think this is for, if anybody. My initial thoughts are, yes, it's easy to look at this and roll your eyes and be like, this is super precious. It is, at the end of the day, a Me Too product. There's nothing specifically special or a huge differentiator about this formula. It's more just rounding out her collection and being like, look, if you're looking for a full face of Victoria Beckham beauty, we're gonna give you a very good cream cheek with colors that someone can find something for them in, and it's going to be in the packaging that you expect, the level of luxury that you expect when you're interacting with our products, and it's gonna look really nice with all of your other Victoria Beckham beauty makeup. But is it different from any other cheek formula I've ever used? Not particularly. There's nothing hugely special about it. It kind of reminds me of her lipstick a little bit. It just kind of feels like a larger tube of her lipstick, but not glossy. You know, it's not as like balmy dewy, but like pretty similar, you know, give or take. So the other thing here is, you know, color, right? So we've talked about the packaging, we've talked about the formula and the performance of it, but when it comes to these colors, you guys saw, there were ones that were more and less dupable. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, you shouldn't have made a shade that exists elsewhere, because obviously it exists elsewhere because people like to wear it. The most dupable shade I found actually to be Miniskirt, which was that kind of Fjordsy shade. If you're new here, guys, if you're new here, you're probably wondering why we could talk this long about blush in a video, okay? But this is what I do. I love blush. It's just my thing. And fjords is short for Nordic children running through the fjords, which I know are bodies of water, but it's just a thing I rattled off one time and it just stuck for some reason. But basically trying to achieve that just took a lap flush to your cheeks, which is why I put blush fairly low and fairly everywhere, is because I do like to kind of mimic and exaggerate that rather than it just being kind of a kiss, you know, here and there. I really go in with it. I have a lot of cheek real estate, so I just use it. That said, this is the kind of shade, this kind of berry shade that has a touch of tan to it, that does a really, really good job of accomplishing that on my skin tone, and it tends to be pretty flexible in that sense. It shows up on a lot of skin tones. You can use a little or a lot and achieve it on a lot of different people, and it will tend to, you know, you can find ones that are cooler and warmer, but this tends to be that color family. But you know, Storm Cloud Paint being the first ever Fjords shade that I identified, you know, while it was happening to me, this is really, really similar to Storm Cloud Paint. And they aren't actually all that similar. Like, a lot of times these Fjordsy colors tend to be very berry toned. This one does want to go tanner than that. It doesn't have all that purple in it, which is really nice. That said, it does come in a lot of different brands. It's just a color that's very popular for a very good reason, because it's easy for a lot of people to wear. So if you are like, you know, heart set on buying this, understand this is going to be one of the most wearable shades for a lot of different people, very easy to work with, but it's also one that exists in a lot of different lines. This melon color, I have seen this a lot of places, but you know, they're all a little bit different, a little bit nuanced, but the most similar ones that I found were Isabella from Thrive and Blush from Color Science. The Thrive is going to be leaning more pink, and it's going to have a little bit of shimmer to it. And then Color Science, I think, also has a touch of shimmer to it, and it's going to be a little bit more beige. But those were the closest ones that I found. You know, looking at that shade, if that's a shade for you. For me, it's like a pop of color kind of thing, but it tends to skew orange on me. My skin kind of cancels out any cool tone that's in there and just goes kind of orange. And so I do have to use it as very much just like a little concentrated kiss on top of everything else, because of that warmth. So yeah, I do think this is a fairly uncommon shade, and it is a very, very pretty version of that shade. And Major is something that, you know, it's kind of wanting to be that universal pink, right? It's wanting to be that bread and butter color from Danessa Meyerix or Petal from Westman Atelier, and it's similar, it is, but I do find that it's just a touch pinker. Do you see? It's got a little bit more hot pink in it. It's subtle, it's very, very subtle, but it's going to be very, very similar. You know, depending on how I edit this video, you might not even be able to see the difference there. So it is accomplishing being that universal pink, but again, the more universal something becomes, the more dupable it becomes. So is this for you? I mean, if you've gotten this far in the video, you probably do care about the little esoteric details, because if you started this video and you're like, $42 for a cream cheek, bye, like you're not here anymore. But whether or not this is for you really depends on whether you want a clean formula, whatever that means to you, you know, silicone free, what have you, because it is about as cost effective as the Westman Atelier ones and probably has slightly different shades-ish, and whether or not her gorgeous luxury packaging is also something that's like worth it to you. You know, it looks just black. It's not. It's like this really pretty kind of like, you know, variegated tortoiseshell kind of print on there. You know, there is something to be said for interacting with a beautiful, beautiful product every day. If those things are important to you, and you are someone who just likes to wear a nice, even, let's call it normal amount of blush, not like me, then this is probably a really nice product for you. If those, you know, luxury details are important to you, I find that it's just like not really pigmented enough for me. Like, I want to have a little more fun than this, and it was just a little bit of a chore to get enough color on my cheeks, and I still feel like it's a little bit flat in terms of the watercolor effect that I want to get. I have to be really careful to not pick it back up. Even though it's not very emollient, it's not very dewy, sticky, it still kind of wants to pick up a little bit. And so, you know, I had to be a little more careful with it. But if you wear an average amount of blush, you know, like not me, it's probably enough pigmentation for you, not a big deal. I don't feel like you're going to be like, oh my God, it's a lip gloss, you know? And I'm not going to drag her on making something that's a dupable, because things don't have to be entirely new to be good. you can make a good product that someone prefers to buy from you than another brand that already existed for various personal reasons. For the makeup consumer who's looking for something to blow their mind, it's just not gonna blow your mind. And you know what? Her last release didn't either. The lip gloss. It's a really pretty lip gloss, but it's kind of a Tower 28 lip gloss. It's more about whether you're into that glass packaging and maybe a shorter ingredients list. I have no idea. I have not compared the two. So hopefully that helps shed some light. I'm not like underwhelmed necessarily, but I'm also like not pleasantly surprised either. That's all. I hope this was helpful for you guys. You know, again, if you already thought that I'm like crazy even comparing something to Westman Atelier in terms of value, then, you know, deep eye roll. I fully support you. There are so many beautiful formulas that you do not need to pay this kind of money for. Go for Tower 28, go for even Thrive, go for Makeup by Mario. Like, you are going to get what you want in a prestige package. I mean, geez, you know, go get a Milani Cheek Kiss in the pan. Those things are amazing, and they're like, you know, under $10, I think. So anyway, that's my story for today, and I hope I placed it in kind of couched it in enough context for you. If you did appreciate this, found it valuable, do give it a thumbs up, guys. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you guys did. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.